So this is what I was before I messed with drugs. And this is what I wanted to be back, a kid, when I got off drugs. And I know that a lot of people do too. I gotta let go of myself together sometimes. I get emotional. Alright, so let me get with this one. I was born here in '68. My parents came here very young. They met here. And they were together. It was 4 of us that they made. I was number 1. And my brother's here. One of my brothers. Come on. Say is that, so I can push myself to get to go do this.
Take your time.
I was born and raised here in Lawrence, went to school here, and as a teenager, you don't know what's going to happen. In the 80s, I was a teenager in the 80s, we didn't know that Lawrence was going to change rapidly. And when it changed, it became with drugs, and that changed. And when I grew up here, we didn't have that in the 70s. In the early 80s, it just hit us. And I was like 15, 16 years old, grew up in the Hancock projects. I was being raised by my grandmother because my mother and father never stood together. And they left me with my grandmother to raise us. And she had her own kids with my uncle and aunts. So I grew up in the projects like that. And me and my friends were always happy-go-lucky guys, going to boys club or going to Oliver Junior High. And like I said, in the 80s, all of a sudden, cocaine came in our city. Heroin came in our city real hard. And then crack. And this drug problem in the city has been around since then, since the 80s. Not now, not 5 years ago, not 10 years ago, since the 80s. We've had a problem. People have been dying from overdoses, from AIDS, from violence of the drugs in this city. And these past 4 or 5 years, you could say, Lawrence has now been looked at like there's a problem of drugs when it's been here a long time. This kind of ain't really what I'm supposed to be talking much about, but I felt like I needed to throw it out there. The problem's been here a long time, okay? And I got caught up in the drugs. I fell in jail, and after I fell in jail and did time a few times, I was finally one time sick of doing drugs. And I have my wife and my 2 kids, and they were suffering big time because of me and my addiction. And I knew there was no way to stop on my own or in a detox because I would leave. I was not going to lie to myself or my family anymore. So I turned myself in. And I turned myself in because I was on probation for other crimes I've committed. And I had to do 2.5 years. When I went to my probation office, I told him, please, put me away. I owe 2.5 years. I'm high right now. And you know I violated. My wife reported to you I violated. And he did. And it was a blessing in disguise because I couldn't leave. I couldn't go nowhere. I couldn't escape my addiction. I had to deal with it in my cell without a nurse or methadone or anything, and kick it for a whole month in that cell. And once I did, I got blessed again. Another 6 months down in the same prison block, I got visited by a counselor. And this counselor came to me and said if I was interested in a drug program they were starting called SACO. I said yes. And I had to wait another 6 months before that program started. I'm still incarcerated. So I did it. The program was for 8 months. First time ever I did a drug program and accomplished it. And it was harder than kicking the drugs. What I learned was, kicking the drugs is not the problem. The problem is dealing with it mentally and therapeutically. That was scary, man, when you have nobody to comfort you. And around strangers, inmates, sitting down just like you guys. I'm opening up to them, to total strangers, about my addiction in the prison. And I did every step I had to take. I even did a lot of reading the Bible, a lot of praying, a lot of crying. And I didn't want to go back. I'm not a good speaker. Anyways, I got out. And when I got out, I haven't been back on drugs. And I want to say that when I got out, I knew the first step I did it, which was to help my family. I had to help myself first. So once I helped myself, I started helping my family. And I had to become the father that I didn't have. I had to learn to be a father. I didn't know how. I had to learn to be a husband. Nobody taught me. I had to learn that too. If it wasn't for my wife being strong, I wouldn't have made it.
Love you, babe.
And anyways, I just keep trying to push myself, you know, to get this done. But what I'm trying to say is, we put our kids in sports, in church. I made sure they always went to school. I made sure they did things that I didn't get to do, and things that should have been done for me. I did things for them that, in my younger days, there was hippies in Lawrence that used to run latchkey centers. And they would teach you about love and kindness and all that stuff. Those little seeds they planted in you. And they were white American hippies, real cool people from Common Street. The building's not there no more. It's next to City Hall. It's used as a parking lot now. Remember, two of the names were Bob and Martha, were the leaders who ran the place. And every time, as a kid, I was given some kind of teaching, a seed planted in my head. It was growing. It was coming out. And I kept using what they taught me about taking care of yourself, taking care of other people, giving back. So, to be quicker, I want to say that after my kids have grown and played sports and everything, and they graduated high school, and they haven't been arrested, they haven't been on the drugs, I was happy. I said, wow, you know, I finally did something positive. And I felt like it was time Lawrence needed to do the same thing. I kept wondering, why wasn't there something happening like this in Lawrence? Why wasn't there more recreation? Recreation, the Boys Club, you're there till like 17 and maybe. What do you do after that? The city, I'm getting old and seeing there's nothing happening. I kept pleading to these mayors, 4 mayors down the line. Every time one new came, promises, and you ask them, and there was nothing happening. So I remember as I was training my daughter when she used to box too, in Lowell, I would have to drive from Lawrence to Lowell to get that support. And I learned a lot of the skills in Lowell about how to teach boxing. So I wanted to open my own gym here, and I kept trying to ask the city. I kept getting the runaround. So I started to help 2 other people open up their gyms in Lawrence, and I did. Lawtown on Merrimack Street, and Intense on Holly Street. And after I helped them, I felt like it's enough helping others, now help yourself get your own thing. They had the finance at the time, or I would help them raise finance to get the help. One of them needed it, the other one didn't. So, as this was going on and becoming a father and dealing with school systems and all this and changing your ways is stressing, because you want to be a better person. And when you want to be a better person, you have to deal with law, and rules and regulations. And when I was, all these years, that caused stress. And stress gets you sick. And when you get sick, you gotta go see the doctor. And the doctor gives you pills. And those pills have side effects. So these side effects were from prednisone. They ate up my cartilage in my hips. My hips had to be cut out and put titanium rods in them. I had my chest cut out open so they can put a defibrillator pacemaker. I have it in my chest now as we speak too. So this messed me up from being a great coach in boxing. I want to get to the part how I financially got the money to open my own gym. The defibrillator they first put in my chest was a defect. And it kept shocking me and shocking me many times. You don't want to be shocked. And it came on an ad in the news, on TV. As a matter of fact, it was on regular commercials. If you have this such number, serial number, defibrillator, you can sue. And there's a group, I guess, doing it. It was many, many thousands of people. So I finally got sick of being shocked. I got it. I did it. I got money for it. And when I got the money for it, I got my own gym. I didn't buy a car. I didn't buy furniture. I didn't buy jewelry. I didn't buy fancy clothes. I bought what I always knew the city needed. A recreation center of boxing where I can teach my skills. And my health, I've been doing it 8 years in Lawrence, but my total years of teaching boxing is 20 years, but 8 in my own city. And my health has been deteriorating slowly.